You have to hit start webinar.
I think it's what? Just turn the camera on.
There's a thing in there that says your practice.
I do have to hit this. You're right.
I think we're good. We'll call this meeting to order. For the record, this is the Kirkwood Park Board. This is our first ever live broadcast and recording. So if we're having any technical difficulties, excuse us, but I think we're good.
Got the thumbs up from somebody afar.
Okay, great. We have no citizens attending, so we do not have any citizen comments. Our first item on the agenda is that we need to amend the previously approved May 18, 2026 minutes to change the name of the vendor. Do we have a motion for that?
Would you approve that?
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor of amending, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
So I have to be clear, we're changing from Native Landscape Solutions to Compass Landscape.
Compass Native Landscape.
Compass Native Landscape. Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right, next we have the approval of the July 20, 2026 minutes. Do we have a motion to approve those?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussions, changes, questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor of approving the July 20 meeting minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes. Next, we have the Alternative Transportation Device Committee report. You're up.
That was convenient, other one.
Yeah.
All right, well, the committee had two meetings, the most recent of which was July 31st, right, Cap? It was July 31st. Yeah, July 31st. Right, July 1st, 9 o'clock. And that was Ron Hall, myself, Mark, and Kyle in attendance. We went through 10 classifications of transportation device, and I think you all have that in your packet, the little matrix we came up with there. Each one of these classes, Kyle, I think is defined in Kirkwood ordinance, correct?
City Council is looking to approve or review the current ordinance under section 4.5. And they will include definitions for each of these devices at some point, once they approve it. And I believe they're looking at it this Thursday in their agenda.
Okay, thank you. So the committee met twice. The process here is to devise the chart that you have before you, draft an ordinance based upon the conclusions that we reach. Park Board then just reviews and recommends the city council those ordinance changes because it does require council action for those changes. So there'll probably be a work session, some kind of ordinance adoption process after that, right? Then educational materials, signage, etc. for the park. So if you look at the matrix here, you'll see the 10 transportation devices on the left side here. Then basically every means of transporting or substrate in the park. So if you look at park roadways, for example, our recommendation after looking at these, and I think it's fair to say, Kyle, particularly from the perspective of you and Ron, we're looking at safety, certainly. We're looking at ease of enforceability, reasonableness, and allowing, access in the park so everyone can enjoy, some kind of balance. So maybe it's easiest just to go down by kind of type of substrate. So park roadways, we've recommended all those types with the exception of the last motorized transportation device. I think that's like a segue.
That was like the kids hoverboard. Remember, it just had the wheels on the side and they put their feet on
You thought that it wasn't easily steerable.
it. So Probably not a good idea to have on park roadways.
But every other device type would be allowed on the park roadway, so getting to the park would be made easy. In the parking lots. Bikes, e-bikes allowed, any kind of e-bike that requires a license or any kind of motorized device that requires a license would be allowed. Non-motorized skateboards and those motorized transportation devices would not be. I think we talked there about just safety, speed of the age class of people using those, and kind of their own cognizance towards remaining safe.
Yeah, can I point out there, like, for example, the scooter class 1, doesn't necessarily require a license. So we wanted to make sure that kids using those were not allowed to use them in parking lots because they don't understand the flow of traffic. Class 2, you have to have a license, those are required. And so technically that person should understand the flow of traffic and therefore that would be allowed. It's kind of the reasoning there.
Is the class just the speed and size of the motor? So for example, e-bike class 1 and 2, how's that different than an e-bike class 3? I'm assuming it's speed, it can go.
I think it's speed and size of the motor.
Okay,
It's both. But one requires a license and one doesn't
okay.
also.
I have a quick question on that. As far as just looking at somebody and seeing, can you tell the difference between the scooter class 1 and 2? Like whether anybody,
No, the only way to tell would be to actually
How fast
make contact with that person and
Okay.
they would have to inspect.
it's tricky because one is allowed on the parking
Right.
lots and one is not. So you're approaching people that maybe not doing anything wrong or one, yeah, but
Correct.
it's just winging it.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's the enforcement part that it's tricky, yeah.
But the non-licensed ones are probably gonna look a lot number.
Yes.
So, yes, that's, it
That's a good point.
won't be.
But even if the license is required, many of them don't have it. They're not currently operating with a license in the license required ones because.
Oh, yeah,
They're just
oh,
not, yeah.
you're right.
Yep.
But if they look too young for the license too.
Yeah.
That could be a help.
Okay. All right, next, hard surface pedestrian paths, so sidewalks.
That should be red. That first one should be red, sorry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I just noticed that.
Basically, the only thing allowed on there from the device perspective is the skateboard, scooter, and the rollerblades. We got, I think Ron talked
I
about
got an
some,
asterisk there, that we're gonna, that we'll point out, in the ordinance that, it'll be, I think it was letter E in the ordinance, can't remember what that one was, I might be able to look it up real quick, you guys give me a second. No, wrong one.
You. Oh, there.
There it is, letter E. Roller skating, rollerblading, skateboarding, and the use of scooters shall be confined to paved areas permitting such activities or areas designated for these purposes. So it already says that they're allowed on those areas if it's designated as such. So that was one of the things that we can absolutely talk about tonight, if you guys have a particularly strong feeling about that.
okay.
Let's bring something up about that now.
Yeah, whatever, yeah.
Well, when I grew up, I was right next to a big county park, and it was similar to size Kirkwood Park. There was a swimming pool and diving area, a huge lagoon, about 3 times the size of a Walker Lake. American Legion ball field, and then smaller ball fields and playgrounds and all the other stuff. But all the paths in the park were asphalt, but on each of them there were signage on the road, no dogs allowed, and walk your bike. So they allowed bikes, but people had to walk their bike through the park. And I don't know if that came up at all in the subcommittees or not.
I don't think so.
It used to be in the ordinance.
I mean,
though,
that is the current, that is the current.
Yeah.
ordinance. Ride a bicycle on other than a paved vehicular road. or-
That's here, what trail.
Except bicyclists may wheel or push their bicycle. So that's already in there. And that's why it would be not allowed on hard surfaces for bicycle.
Yeah.
But, we have sometimes kids who are up there with their parents and they might have roller skates or roller blades and they might be scooting around up there on that main walk or around a path up there. So that's why that one has an asterisk, because we may need to talk about safe usage, or, the discretion of the ranger might have to say you're not using it safely, you're gonna have to. do that.
Because the biggest problem in Kirkwood Park is that path around the lake, because that's only about a yard wide. It seems that way.
So that's for you guys to discuss and maybe.
I
bring.
like saying that it's the discretion of the ranger,
Well,
because every individual circumstance is gonna be different. If you're, touring around on there, that's different than you're learning how to roller skate on there.
yeah, I would maybe add something around, must yield to pedestrians. You can be on your rollerblades, you can be, but there's people walking or somebody pushing a stroller, it is your job to yield to them, not their job to yield to you. That is commonly what happens if you're up here walking. Is the kids are on their mechanisms, we'll just call it that, and they really should pull over a little bit or slow down and let you walk, and not that they'll just go right down the middle. So some type of yielding language.
The other problem is if they're walking a dog. The dog's on a leash and the leash is across the road. That's the problem area. I've seen that happen when I've been working in the park in the morning.
But I don't think that just saying you have to yield is effective at all, because they're not, it's common sense now that you should be. So, you know what I mean? It's not like we say yield to pedestrians. It's not like everybody's gonna do that. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm not saying they will do it, but
It's the
you can make
common-
it is a law on the streets
Yeah.
and the sidewalks, you are supposed to yield to pedestrians, and it has to be written somewhere, so at least there's a precedent for whoever's enforcing it has something to rely on. But
Yeah.
I agree, just because it's written down doesn't mean,
But we could still, they could both be in there, that it's the discretion of the
that's what I'm saying.
ranger,
I'm-
that they're not that they're not yielding or whatever. It probably should.
I agree.
That would be a reason for asking them to stop.
Okay. Natural service pedestrian trails, pretty easy category. Although under 18.7A, then bicycle technically would be allowed if you pushed it.
Yeah, that's the same as the hard surface. As right now, remember, this is what's in there currently.
Right.
What we're looking at is this. And if you guys agree with this, then we're gonna rewrite the recommendations to match this graph is what we're gonna do. And then they may appear differently in the future in this part of the chat, the ordinance.
I'll come out a bike on a trail if you're pushing it versus riding it. Currently you can push.
Yeah.
I would think you'd want to keep that, because then you're not compelling someone that they have to basically abandon their bike.
Right.
If they want to get off it, if they rode it here and they want to keep it with them, whether they're gonna bike somewhere else or they just don't want it to be stolen, I think you'd be allowed to keep it on your person as long as you're not riding it.
I agree.
Is that covered by where? In the ordinance, if you look at A,
Yeah.
that's already
Yeah,
covered.
I don't think we want to get rid of that.
right.
And then B, it really is saying you have to obey the same laws that are on the street, which is you yield to pedestrians, you stop. Et cetera.
1878 though also impacts the turf and lawn space category, because it says you can push the bike over the grass. We want to do that?
Yeah,
Say
I
that
think
one more
that's fine.
Yeah, if you were going to a picnic or something.
1878 says you can't ride a bike on the turf, but you can get off and push it.
Yeah.
So to the picnic table or stand,
That's reasonable.
baseball diamond, wherever
Yeah.
your destination is. Sounds unreasonable.
Yeah.
All right, otherwise the surface trails are all not allowed. Next one, regional trail network, I think follows the GRG use standards, right, Cal?
So that an example of that path that we have is down at Greentree Park along the river. So it kind of follows those new trails.
Urban lawn space, we maybe put an asterisk on the first category for bicycle, you can push it. Otherwise, nothing on the turf. Besides your 2 feet.
Yeah, I never knew that. It's interesting. If somebody has a mountain bike and they want to ride across the grass to the lake, they can't do it, right?
Right,
Under this, correct, they can have.
but they never could.
No, yeah, I'm not fighting it. I just
mean,
didn't know that.
They just did.
You missed the mouse.
Oh, I agree, yes. Is my ignorance, yeah.
Not at all. All right, guys, we want to open up for any thoughts or discussion on any individual
You
segment.
guys, if if there's anything on here that you guys feel we need to dive deeper into, I'm looking for direction on what to do on this point. This would kind of be an educational piece. And then we can write regulations and we'll kind of match this additional piece.
I think a big help would be for the device types to actually have an image of what they look like,
Could be hard.
no, but like this scooter, these two scooters look the same.
Yeah.
And these two bike, like, there's so many things, just maybe a little, some way of,
They're all different, even
Like-
classes.
like, even, I mean,
In
so
your-
Joe Schmo has an e-bike and he doesn't know what class he has, do I have a 1 or a 2 or 3? I don't even know.
It should, because the sticker should be on there.
So
They
it's,
should, the classification, when they buy it, should be on the device somewhere.
So that's like a
And I think that's by
standardized.
law, it has to be on there
Yeah.
when we buy it. Whether or not they keep it on there. So, but I don't know if it's engraved on it or if it's just a sticker, it just could vary by manufacturer. So how they interpret that.
And all the license classes, from what I can tell, are separate from like 1 and 2, so you won't have
Yeah.
anything coming. So I mean, if you have a license required one, you should know that that requires a license. So then if it
that
is,
would be the thought,
yeah,
but.
but I mean, so then if you have
right
a
now-
14, 15-year-old,
Well,
then
now you
just let them
12-year-old
out it, yeah.
there because their parents
Yeah.
bought it for them. Maybe they should only sell them to people who have a license. I don't know, they can't sell cars to people without licenses. All right, that's not for us to decide though.
Right.
But, I guess it would be like really kind of educating the rangers so they know what these are.
Yeah.
Um,
And he was in on these meetings.
Yeah, that's
so,
great.
He's understanding them and liking where we're going with it too. Nice.
Well, I think,
Yeah.
I think the committee just really, you guys did a great job with this. This is really good work. I appreciate it and I think,
It's just,
I think it's commendable. I'm kind of wondering, and I don't have it figured out in my mind, but it's something to consider, maybe having the sign near a place where you can lock the things up, like right where you, at the entrances, and it's basically says if you've got, say, where you're like leaving the parking lot, if it's got wheels, walk it or leave it here, and it's, so it's really, really super clear, because really you can't be riding these things, around in the park now. It includes bikes. So the sign could say something like that, and we could have some places to lock them up at the entrances. Of course, it's not foolproof, but it's pretty plain. It's a lot more plain than having, we're gonna have to do the public education, but that's not gonna reach everybody. And the parents aren't gonna be explaining it to the kids because, whatever. But I really think that would be helpful. And then, as a suggestion for you to consider. And the other thing in the, when you're trying to sell this to people, which I know you're going to have, nice ways of saying all this. And it is true that we just don't want the kids to get hit by a car, in the parking lot and all these things. I totally agree. I really think you should mention the old people. I know, here I am like one of the few senior citizens, really senior, but we are a big age component of Kirkwood. Much larger group than the small group of teenagery tween kids who are riding these bikes. And it is really dangerous for old people to have a fall. And I think that there should be some mention in the public selling of this, that it's also, that the safety of the kids as riders is really important, but they're also the vulnerable young and older people who use the park. And, there are a lot of really old people who use the park. I mean, I know because some of them, ask me to sit with them when I'm, who are there frequently. And I've actually picked up 3 of them who've fallen, when they're out there. So I think it would be appropriate to mention that. Of course, the young little kids too, who are just learning to walk, they may not be in a stroller, but they're vulnerable to kind of a life-changing crash, just like, all of us old frail people. Anyway, okay, so
Thanks for pointing that out.
pardon
I
me.
said, thank you for pointing
Okay.
that out. I've noted that.
Thank you.
Here, and I will make sure that when.
That's in the
we get
master
to that
plan.
point.
We're a big contingent here.
When we get to that point, we'll definitely educate.
Then we're angry.
No, we're not angry, Alan. Heart for companionship and be nice to people.
Okay.
Community building.
So, tonight isn't necessarily, any suggestion in changing the ordinance. Tonight was just to get your consensus on this, and that's really what I needed. So what I'll do is I'll take this back and, I'll get this written up, and then I'll bring it back to you guys again for final, approval to go to city council when it's written in ordinance.
Do you guys have a consequence or what do you call it? What happens if
Enforcement?
yeah, like what happens if you don't?
We get to that when we get to the
That's
new
later on
business.
tonight.
Yeah,
Okay.
We put you on the street with your scooter.
No.
We are talking about that later.
Okay, so you'll make the amendments and we'll present it back next month.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Kevin. We have no unfinished business. First new business is approval of backhoe lease.
I'll let Pete take this one. He's done a lot of the legwork here. He's been calling companies and talking to them and we've been through the steps of procurement. And, if you got it, pull up.
So we got the bids back. We had 2 companies bid on the lease for our backhoe. They each provided an alternate. You see the gray ones are the alternate and the highlighted ones are the base bid that we asked for. Based on the 2 bids, you can see that it's gone up quite a bit from where we were. I kind of put the numbers down there from what our previous lease was with the John Deere backhoe that we currently have. And the bottom left. Yes. So we were paying $8,627 a year plus pass-through property taxes, which is ranged. We're usually anywhere between $10,000 to $11,000 we were paying a year on the lease. The new lease options that we have there, we have $22,980. So it's gone up a significant amount from where we used to be. The unit in in 2021, that John Deere was around 100,000. Now they're around 150,000 for a new backhoe. So the prices have got up quite a bit. So that explains part of that lease. They also provide a buyout option. So that's where we're at now with the John Deere one. If we wanted to purchase that John Deere one that we currently have, it would cost us $66,000. 66,287 N, is that what that says?
Mhm.
267. So that would be the purchase price for the one we currently have. Versus a lease of 22,980 or 23,725
It's without property.
without property tax, yeah. Initially, you figure the property tax first few years would be based on, you can see the property tax we paid in previous years. 2,000 plus. And it went down slowly. There was an anomaly there, 23, it went up.
That was based on the original price of the unit 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Probably double.
Eventually. So all that, goes into where we want to go. We have options where our procurement, or not, our fleet director, I believe it's in your packet, has a whole write-up on his recommendation for the lease, if we decide to lease a new unit. He's recommending the ACB unit as a superior machine, and it was slightly cheaper too. And then if we decide we wanted to, the other option, if we don't want to lease a piece of equipment and we want to purchase a piece of equipment that we currently have, his estimate was that we're about 5 years into the life cycle of that machine on a 10-year life cycle. So we're about halfway through its life cycle. I priced out other machines similar to that one. And anything that I could find that was under 1,000 hours of use, like the one we currently have, used is priced at 80 to 90,000. So that gives you kind of a comparison to where we're at. If we want to purchase that or if we want to lease them.
How much have we paid so far? Like total, do we know?
Total, I believe it's in there.
Sorry, here's some even.
118,000
Right there.
is what we paid.
24.
Almost 119,000 is what we will have paid.
Okay, so the difference between that and the 60, what we've already paid.
Yeah.
Is there a reason you wouldn't buy that for 66,000, knowing the condition of it and the use of it?
Not necessarily. That's why we put it out there as an option.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we
yeah.
wanted to bring these to you, and that's.
Yeah.
You might actually feel that might be a good option, as far as price goes. And keep in mind too, that at the end of that 5 years,
You have an asset.
you have an asset that can be sold. Where we may have only paid $20,000 over
Right.
5 years instead of $60,000
Right.
over 5 years.
But then in 5 years, you also get to the point of a new machine right now is 150
Right.
or is 100.
Yeah.
Last halfway through its life.
Plus you're,
So,
in
Or
theory,
you're
you're
looking at a used one again, there's all kinds of ways to play this out, but what we're pointing out is that the price of them has gone up significantly, and it's difficult for us to keep absorbing all these massive price increases.
Yeah.
That double in 5 years, and our funding is not doubling in 5 years.
and you've already kind of taken your hit.
yeah, a lot of has happened since 2021 when we purchased that one. We were in the middle of supply crisis with the pandemic. Things never really leveled off and prices went up and never really came back down.
Is that piece of equipment, does it serve all the purposes that you need to serve?
Yes, for the most part. It's a vital piece of our operation. It's the unit that we need to load up all our debris into our truck to haul away. It's the unit that we need to dig trenches. It's the unit that we need to move mulch piles and soil piles on a larger scale as opposed to what you can do with a smaller scale in a skid steer. So it is, it's very,
It's probably used 90% of the
yeah,
time. right?
yeah, we use it quite a bit.
Yeah,
Even though it only has, I think, 900 hours on it right now.
Well, that was my last
So
question.
it's not like it's at a construction site where it's getting used for 8 hours a day.
Banged up.
But it's still significantly, operated or used quite a bit.
Do you have opportunities to get it serviced competently
Yeah,
and reasonably?
our fleet department can service it for anything that we need. Since we've owned that, we've done most of the service on our own, the simple stuff. If there's anything more complicated, we would bring in John Deere to service it beyond what the city could manage.
And in all scenarios, we're on the hook for maintenance. There's like a maintenance agreement with the leases or anything.
There was an initial extended warranty, but that is up.
That's up. Okay, so we're covered down.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'd buy the damn thing.
We have the budget flexibility for that.
Well,
We don't, so, yeah.
that's where, we would have to appropriate funds from the fund balance. From the park fund balance, because we don't have the extra capital right now. So you guys would have to approve a transfer from the fund balance to the capital purchasing line. So that we could make it happen. So that you guys think is best. And again, it's an upfront cost now. But over time, that price is lower than what we would spend leasing a new one or even buying a new one.
You feel confident in the machine, like that you guys are the ones you have to use it every day.
Yeah, it's definitely showing some wear and tear. I don't operate as much, but I talk to my guys and say, what are your feelings on this? They like the machine. They do say it's, slowing down. It doesn't seem to have as much power as it did. That could just be general maintenance things that have to happen. But until we, dig into that a little bit more and make it a part of our fleet, where our fleet department can really get in there and diagnose. Right now, the fleet department just does minor things, since it's a lease piece of equipment.
Did we budget the 8,600 range for this year?
It's approximately 10,000 because we have the property tax in there too.
So we need 56.
And the property tax typically was just sort of put in with another account, but yeah.
That's not in a capital account though.
No, it was in professional services.
Yeah, we'd have to treat.
We do have the funds, the 10,000 funds.
In the 8,600 comes out of the lease and rental equipment account, and the property tax comes out of the professional services account.
So what did we have? We had a 5-year lease on this.
Correct.
And then what did we have budgeted for the next?
We continued with our
like
10,000 approximate because we didn't think it would spike, because our previous one to that was about the same as well. For the last 10 years, we've been paying around $10,000 to $11,000 a year to lease a piece of equipment.
Is there any hope of financing it if we buy it? So we wouldn't have to take all that money out of the fund balance at once?
I mean, we could.
We
We can
didn't
also
think
make
about that, but that's a good point.
adjustments there's not much we can do adjustment wise to this year's capital, because most of the things we've completed or already moved around. But we could make some adjustments to next year's capital to kind of offset things a little further out that we have coming up.
I mean, I should remember this, but I don't remember how much we were going into the fund balance this year with the projected spending, which may not be the actual.
We were going in 2.7 million. And we were projected to spend a deficit spend 250,000, I believe, off the top of my head. Roughly, we lower the fund balance to 2.5 million, which was still well within 2/3 to 3/4 of the operating budget less capital requirement that the park board set. And there was still room there. But it's just.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking about that as much as just that, taking a little out every year is not gonna work in the long run. I mean, going into the fund balance every year won't be sustainable.
For this piece of equipment?
No,
No,
in general.
in
If
gen-
we go into the fund balance every year, we'll,
Correct. It's not sustainable if we continue to do the spending that we're currently doing.
That's
which was
what I meant.
proposed, yeah, which was proposed and you guys approved it this
Yeah.
year.
Mhm.
But again, we were still within that range. So I think that Pete and I are really gonna have to take a deep dive at our capital spending for the next 5 years. And this is the presentation that I gave to city council as well. So our projected capital amounts for this year was $353,000. Next year was $283,000. The following year, the third year was $59,000, which is already low. And then $204,000 and then $250,000. So we're already not spending a whole lot of money on capital items, but we're really gonna have to balance that in order to sustain the fund balance at a particular level. So that's the crux of the situation is, do we defer maintenance or do we maintain fund balance? That's the situation that we're gonna be facing in the next 5 years. You know, that some of the other city departments have been facing for a while too, so we just gotta figure out the best approach. And Pete and I can make those recommendations, and you know, there's a finance person that's gonna be on that committee. Trying to assign somebody, but it's all stuff we can look at for next year. But I do know that they need that piece of equipment, you know, regardless, so we gotta figure out what the best option is. It seems to me that the least impact is to purchase that one right now. It does buy us 5 years to maybe come up with another plan. How we're gonna deal with that. Which is not best approach, but
It's where we are.
it's where we are.
Are we looking for a motion to move the fund?
Yeah, but you asked, Ellen, you did ask another question about whether or not it can be financed.
Yeah,
You know, I don't know how quickly we have to have this completed. Pete, you probably know better. When does the lease actually end?
The lease ends middle of September. I think it was September 16th.
For our next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we wanted to finance it, that may be a procurement question to see what we would have to do, because right now, the way the contract is written, this is the end of the lease buyout price. And yeah, so I'm not sure exactly where that would go. I did ask about rental options, if we wanted to rent it, and they said it was $3,500 a month. So that's.
Yeah.
Housekeeping question. So if you buy it, whether you finance it or pay cash, and you said it then becomes a fleet asset.
Yeah.
Is that now a city asset,
Correct. So we would.
not a park asset?
No, it would be a park. asset,
Okay,
yeah, but,
okay.
Yeah, the fleet maintains our fleet as well.
And can the mechanics do an inspection of that piece of equipment and report back, we foresee $2,000 in expenses?
Well, yeah,
next-
I just had it in this week,
Okay.
or last week, I'm sorry. And part of that was for them to check it out,
Okay,
to make
great.
sure that there wasn't anything.
Like a ticking bomb.
Yeah, and overall, it's in good shape, you know, according to our fleet director. And that's why he said we're about halfway through its life cycle. We're seeing the typical wear and tear, machine at 5 years, with the hours that it has.
Okay, great.
So if we want the fund balance transfer out, you need, say, up to 57. You have 10 in hand.
Yeah. I mean, well, you did.
Well, we'd have to move it into the capital account, which is not in right now.
Right.
It's, so you'd have to move,
But taxes on it.
well, the taxes are in that buyout price.
Okay,
Or, yeah, the property tax is part of that. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's included.
good news.
I just paid, or I'm about to pay the personal property tax last year on it. So that includes the personal property tax for 2026 in that.
but only 1 year, just it has 1 year.
So you're saying personal property tax on the,
Right. No, I just didn't know if it was estimated ahead. So,
And you would have to, like, if we were able to use the funds that we already have. And we transfer that. I don't even know. I mean, you know, make a motion to transfer it from an operational account to a capital account. I don't know. Do that. So we may just have to appropriate the full amount, 66.
and we just let that other fall back
And we
in.
can let that other fall back in at the end of the year. We just won't, we'll try not to use it for anything else. I'll be the best approach. If we wanted to get something approved tonight.
And we do have to approve something tonight, I guess.
Well, yeah, it goes back and.
Yes.
So we could move the full amount, hypothetically, we could motion to move the full amount, and then next year's budget, then will be part of capital, and then the property taxes will approve with next year's budget.
No, that property tax is included. That's the final price.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think it was. 63,969 is the buyout price plus the 2,298, the property tax for the final buyout price of the 66,000.
And we don't owe the state any tax money when we buy a piece of equipment, right? We don't, like a car sales tax.
No, it's a pass-through tax. So John Deere Financial owns the piece of equipment. So they pass through that property tax to the city. That's the only reason we're on the hook for paying that tax.
The city is not exempt from property tax.
Okay, but there's no other taxes you have to pay
Yeah. there
because
would be
now
no
you're the
tax.
new owner of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, every time you buy a car,
Yeah.
it's taxed to that.
Yeah.
When you buy it, when you license it.
Yeah.
The city's exempt from those types of taxes.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Is there anyone opposed to a buyout? Or would prefer another alternative?
Or for us to look into something
Yeah.
else.
I mean, how do you guys really feel about it? We're always kind of on your side.
Well, from my understanding, when the lease was first started. Not this one, but the one prior to that, it was one of those, this is a way to keep the capital costs down by leasing this every year. Rather than paying 150 grand up front or 100 grand up front, you lease it for 5 years for whatever the amount would be, just keep that a little bit lower. Problem is, as we keep doing that, you know, if prices go up and the lease gets more expensive, and then does it make sense to continue to lease? And that's what you guys are debating right now, you know, what's the best option? If we get to 5 years in and this piece of equipment is still in decent enough shape and we think, oh, we can keep this for another 2 or 3 years, that could extend those savings as well. We won't know till we get to that point.
And then
There's-
just sell it because it's an asset.
Yeah, but that gets us into that same thing of kicking the can down the road, where now next year I've got potentially a tractor that's been around since 2002. You know, it's like, when do you start making that? Okay, it's time to replace this, and then how does that hit your cap? So that's all stuff that Kyle and I, again, look real close to you.
it's just part of the deal. I mean, no way around it.
Right. Motion to.
Do you want a motion to purchase or lease, or would you want a motion to move funds? Because
Motion
one
to move.
depends on the other.
Remove the money
Well, that's
first.
for you guys. Do you guys want a motion for us to lease this piece of equipment? Or would you prefer us to purchase the piece of equipment? We've looked at both the options that are there.
Why don't we make a motion? We can talk and vote. So I make a motion that we purchase the used piece of equipment for the $66,267.10.
Second.
Then we can discuss and vote it down or vote it up.
Any other comments other than what we've discussed? Everyone feel like they've got an idea in their head? Okay, then we can just, so for that motion, everyone approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes.
So now we have to appropriate those funds. So I'll need a motion.
Motion to appropriate $66,267.10 from our fund to the
Fund balance.
fund balance to the capital.
Rolling stock,
Rolling stock.
which is,
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thanks for doing all the numbers on that, guys.
Yeah.
That's a lot to do.
Yeah, that was a real comprehensive presentation. Thanks.
All right, next we have the memorial dedication request application. You just want me to speak to that, or do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I mean, as you laid out here, that would be something that I think we would need to go in front of the Park Board Partnership Committee. So I think we just need to get that committee assembled before the next meeting.
Has it been scored yet? Has the application been scored? So we have to do that first.
That's what would happen in a partnership committee meeting.
Okay.
They would look at this and take any scoring and figure out if it meets that level or not. And the partnership committee would make a recommendation to the park board, and the park board would then discuss at some point whether or not everybody is in favor or not in favor of that. Until naming of that is either.
Right now for Partnership Committee, we have Alan as chair, Ellen and Becky. We can't have 4 people. Would anybody else want to be in that?
I'll be on that.
You're the chair.
Oh,
You can't be on there twice. Pull your hat off.
I was responsible for all the variations of this, I got 4.
So it's okay with 3, but if
Yeah.
one of the new members want to join that.
Because the big question I had is which gazebo are we talking about? Is the little one by the tennis courts? Okay,
It already made-
that's the problem.
That's something that'll be needed to discuss. It's already been dedicated, so, but there's other things to
Gotcha.
do with that or do something
So I
else. So
I
that
can shut up with all the stuff I wrote down.
we can,
I'll save that.
we'll save that, yeah, for the. Okay, so I'll send a follow-up email to see when you guys want to meet.
So Ellen, Becky, and you say you would? That's right.
Okay.
The bar is low on that form. The only thing I didn't meet was, I'm not dead, so. I don't know how many points he got for that. But a disclaimer too, again, like I knew Dan, I knew his sister, I knew his mother, he grew up in the neighborhood I live in. And I used to be an inhabitant of Graham's Grill, including the night they closed on New Year's Eve. So that criteria, I don't have a problem. I don't think anybody else would either, that isn't bad.
So when do we have a meeting for that? Are you gonna send out an email? to
I can send an email, or unless,
Yeah. I
since
can-
everyone's here, okay,
I
yeah,
can
that's
send-
fine,
okay.
just whatever, their
We'll
schedule.
figure it out.
Okay.
And then we'll post it.
Thank you. Next, we're moving to the meat of the code of ordinance update.
All right, so there's quite a bit here. I may just read this out loud, so everybody's up to date with it, but a request for additional signage in the park to help educate park users about e-bikes and off-leash dogs was requested for the June Park Board meeting. After further review by the Park Board and the Alternative Transportation Device Committee, it's been determined several changes to the Chapter 18 Code of Ordinance need to be recommended to City Council. Should these changes ultimately be accepted, staff will then move forward with appropriate signage. So one of those things that I've mentioned the last time we met is that some of the language had been inadvertently removed from E-Code 360 when it was, I guess, a version of that prior to it being the version that I just pulled up online. And that language that was omitted says during the review of the code, well, here. I guess I'm jumping ahead of myself, aren't I? During the review of the code ordinance, it was discovered the language pertaining to the authority granted by the park ranger to enforce the park code ordinance was potentially inadvertently removed. Since there's no evidence to suggest it was a Scrivener's error, it was determined that the code be edited again with recommendation from the park board, city council. The recommended addition to this code is below. Motion to approve the item below for city council consideration is suggested with a minor change in verbiage from summons to citation to more accurately describe ranger authority, subject to city attorney final review and recommendation. So under section 18.2, after the portion that reads, any person violating the provisions of any section of this chapter shall be subject to the penalties provided in 1.8 Code of Ordinance, except in the event person violating the provisions of this chapter is by reason of age, not subject to the jurisdiction of the municipal court of the city. So this is what would be recommended to city council to get added back in. Generally, the park superintendent or any park ranger shall have the authority to eject from the park any person acting in violation of this chapter. Park superintendent or any park ranger shall have the authority to seize, confiscate, and confiscate the property thing or device in the park or used in violation of this chapter. Park superintendent or any park ranger shall have the authority to issue a citation instead of the summons to any person acting in violation of this chapter. In the event of resistance to the action intended to correct the violation of this chapter, either physical or otherwise, the park supervisor or the ranger shall refer the violation to the police department. So they have the ability to call police back up. So that's what would be recommended. And again, like I said, we will get in the motion. Start that conversation.
What is the age by reason of age?
So when I look into this, under, go back to this in ordinance. 1(8). Sorry, I should say this. Here's where it is. The city council again is considering the new code for the alternative transportation devices on their agenda for Thursday. And one of the things that is in there talks about the ages. So this code would then refer to that section 1(8), which then would refer to section 4.5. And it talks about kids under the age of 16 and what that consequence would be. So that's kind of how it all.
Trying to make sure it wasn't like, oh, there's no consequence if you're under 16.
And so there is a language drafted for that to be approved by city council in section 4.5. It was 4. Four and a half in there. No, it's not in this written one, but it is in the drafted one that they're gonna review. In any case. Should all refer back to those particular items.
So in other words, really the council's gonna set the penalty part.
Yeah.
And we just are gonna go with what you've written to replace the thing that was missing.
Yeah.
And if we change it from citation from summons, I don't know if that affects the age or not. Do you all know? Or are we just letting the council deal with that basically?
Well, again, what I said here was a motion to approve the below subject to city attorney final review and recommendation.
Okay.
So I'll make sure it's all kosher and it matches up with the other ordinances, but yeah, that recommendation will then go to city council. If you guys approve this language tonight, it'll go to city council and we do all of this other stuff in the ordinance, so. And I'll make sure that the city attorney reviews it. And then city council will discuss it, potentially at a work session, and then at a formal meeting. It's my guess.
Do you want a motion?
Yeah, I could probably say something effective, the changes below for section 18-2.
Motion to approve the item below for city council consideration. With the minor change in verbiage. Is listed below.
And second it.
Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right, passes.
I think that's city council. The next part is alternative transportation devices. At this point of the meeting, the park board will have heard from the Alternative Transportation Device Committee regarding the suggested changes that reflect the most up-to-date information and safety concerns brought forward by that committee, the park board and staff. The draft graphic is included in the packet. If consensus is reached, staff will then use the recommendation to finalize the written version for updating the ordinance to draft a staff. Once drafted, staff will return to the park board. Final approval, city council review, park board members. We're asking about penalties for infraction to this ordinance, which is also reference section 1(8). Any person who violates any provision of the city code or ordinance of the city is guilty of an offense. Upon conviction of an offense that is not a minor traffic violation and where no specific penalty is otherwise prescribed, the court may assess a fine of no less than $5 but no more than 1,000, or imprisonment for a period not exceeding 3 months or such fine and imprisonment. But that's what it refers back to. That's what I was trying to find up there under 1(8).
When it says upon conviction, does that mean there has to be a trial of sorts?
Yeah, I guess they would put in front of a judge.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a municipal court.
Yeah.
Municipal
And so
court
the
process.
summons or the citation that the ranger or the superintendent can write stands up for that, like,
Yeah.
okay, perfect.
My understanding, correct, yeah. So we kind of already talked about it a little bit. I guess I jumped the gun in that first part of that, but that's what we basically outlined will happen, and we'll come back to you with that language at some point. Okay, any questions there? All right, then we move into the dog leash requirements, and then a review of the off leash ordinance was also requested by the park board. Below is the current ordinance language. Park board members were also asking about the penalties for an infraction of this ordinance, which also reference section 1(a) and (b). So it's the same penalty for an off-leash dog. If that comes to that. So was there any desire to change any of the current language? All right, let's get there. In any of that
I do
information.
I have one quick.
A, B, and C on that second page there. Knowing that these are the penalties of the violations. Did anybody have any additional comments or edits that we wanted to add, or?
Quick question, right above the dog leash requirements, it says that under the newly proposed ordinance regarding alternative transportation devices be considered by the city council. Language pertaining to individuals under the age of 16 and what those penalties would be are included. So
I'm saying that
that's
would
what
be,
these are,
no, I was saying that
they're gonna be adding.
they're gonna, yeah, the
Okay.
city council is reviewing what.
I just wanted to make sure
penalties
that was-
for alternative transportation devices for those under 16.
Okay, so these are not the ones for under 16, correct? Okay.
Correct. Okay.
Something about leash requirements. That include cats.
I think.
And I actually saw someone in an acre.
Or
had a cat on
domesticated
a
animal,
leash.
yeah, I think that includes cats. Came up.
Yeah, it says or other domesticated animals. Yes.
So I could walk my ferret.
Yeah.
Lizard, ferret.
A leash.
Got the news with an alligator.
So, okay, Ellen,
Some of you may think this is redundant, I don't know, but I see it a lot of places with dogs, and it just says retractable leashes must be locked. And I think that's a reasonable thing to put in, because people think they have their dogs under control on a retractable leash, but they're really not.
So in the middle of that paragraph.
You know, where it says under control or whatever.
That kind of is adjacent to your comment, and I know what you're saying, because I have one of those. So if it gets too long and it's not locked, sometimes.
Yeah, that's,
So maybe you could add something in that sentence. Is tethered, slash.
I know, I just think people aren't that imaginative, you know.
What
Oh, I got my
say,
dog on a leash.
Well, I think what happens is they're not paying attention, and then a surprise happens, and it,
Yeah.
but I don't know how you.
isn't it listed
Would
somewhere in
you-
there how many feet it can be?
Yeah, I was gonna say, would you have to put something like the retractable leash may not extend further than whatever the maximum is for like a normal leash?
In the middle, it kind of says a greater length Then that which permits her to have at all times sufficient.
But you know, like the woman who complained to you, okay, so the dog owner probably thought, oh, they're under control. I got my dog on a leash, but you know, the dog ran up to a little child.
Yeah.
A little
Which,
too vague.
yeah,
20 feet away on a retractable leash.
I mean, I think the only way to really address it is you have to add a length in there. 10 feet, 8 feet, 6 feet, what it is. If somebody will say, well, I don't have a retractable, I just have a long rope. I have a lead.
yeah. The lunge line,
Yeah,
but like for,
so you know, that's just how hardcore do you wanna be? You wanna put a length in there or not?
I think we should have a length. I just don't know what length it should be.
I think it'd just be what you get 6 feet, what you'd have for a normal leash, so maybe like. How do you say, yeah,
6 feet
it
is-
may not extend further than the maximum length of 6 feet as it would be for. Oh, maybe there's a better way to say that, but.
You could say at the very end of there, not to exceed 6 feet.
yeah,
Where it
Just-
it would
says
just cover anything, you know, any,
sufficient control has to protect all persons. You could put not to exceed somewhere in that.
it should be like and, because you don't want to get rid of the part about sufficient control, because even if the person's got a short leash, they can't bring a horrible dog, you know.
It
It's-
shall
Yeah,
be
you can't be 3 foot next to
Yeah,
somebody with a
right.
bad, yeah.
Yeah.
right.
So it should
a
have
leash.
sufficient control and no longer than, maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I would just say,
Tell you wherever, you pick wherever one you want.
You can say greater length than 6 feet or that which permits the owner to have. And you could have it in the middle of that.
No, it has to have and. Because you could
Not
have
to
a really
exceed.
vicious dog with 6 feet.
Yeah.
And we still don't want that.
Where are we inserting what?
so on A in the middle, no leash on which a dog or other animal is tethered or restrained shall be of greater length. And then at that some point you have to say not to exceed 6 feet and which permits the owner to have at all times sufficient control.
Can you say maximum length? Maximum length of 6 feet
And
and permits.
that's my point. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're saying it better than I am. Yeah.
Very good, guys.
Did you get that, Trish?
Yes.
Tethered or restrained shall be of greater length.
Change that to maximum.
Shall not exceed 6 feet in length and
Shall not exceed. Six feet. And which.
Yeah.
You already have.
And less.
that's perfect. You're saying.
Yeah.
Which permits the owner to have all sufficient.
So that's the suggested change there, so we would need,
Ellen, that's your motion. Sorry.
yeah, that would be a motion.
Oh, okay. I move that we suggest to the city council wording agreed upon to restrict leashes to 6 feet and also maintaining control of the animal at all times.
Got it.
Wait a second.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, all in favor of said motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Okay.
Any other changes that are needed from us, or I think we can.
So moving on to.
Okay, maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta find it for people later in the. Yeah, it could be here. You wanna find it there. Give me the for you.
Alright, so my maintenance report for last month. We've had a few changes in staffing. Audrey Ferber, who we hired on this year to be our horticulture assistant, has moved on to further her career in farm horticulture. But we appreciate everything she learned or she was able to do here with us, and hope we taught her as much as we possibly could in the short time she was here. Luckily, though, we had a perfect candidate to replace her, Kathy Rieger, who was one of our extended seasonal positions. She has a degree in horticulture, 9 years of experience. Perfect spot, perfect time. And she looked at the position and was very excited and interested in it, and we were able to offer that to her. So Katha's jumped right in, so we didn't have any hiccup in service, other than the fact that we're short our seasonal positions now. Because typically those seasonal positions for the horticulture side of the operation go into October. So we are still shorthanded, but in a different way. McConnell Associates finished the resurfacing of the basketball court with Beecham. So you can see this was, as they were working on it, they were filling in the cracks. We had one spot in particular where a large chunk of the asphalt had just pulled out. So they did some sealing with a resin, and then they painted over the top of that and resurfaced it with a fresh coat of paint. Scroll down a little, let's see the next, I think, yeah. So that's the after photos, turned out great. Community's pleased, we're all pleased. I went out with the basketball and bounced it all around those areas where the cracks were to make sure it still bounced back up. If any dead spots or anything like that. And I horribly missed all my shots that I took. Guys were laughing. So beautiful day in the park. But yeah, that turned out great. So that should buy us more time before we have to get into a future where we have to replace that. The cracks, they said, will more than likely come back over time, just when you get that pre-thaw underneath. But this should last for a while, hopefully. And then also talking about our seasonal employees, our other side of the operation, the parks maintenance side, the seasonal employees that we typically have, high school kids, college kids, come work for us for the summer. They headed back to school. A lot of them are starting this week or next week. So we appreciate all their efforts and their help. That's what we've been up to. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Under the record report, happy to report that the ice rink opened on August 1st. In normal operation again. This was the date that we were shooting for, and we nailed it. Ready to go about a week prior. We were testing the system, everything ready and cleaned up. We're good there. As I reported to City Council, they had approved a budget of $5.5 million for the construction. That doesn't include design or owner's rep services, but they had approved a budget of $5.5 million for the upgrade. I'm thinking we're gonna be at about 2.277 million. So it's been on time and under what the expected budget was. So
Good job.
we're happy about that. Let's see what else I have here. And then last part of my report is related to Ellen had asked about tree protection for the Greentree Festival, and what steps the Greentree Committee had put in place for that. And so I just wanted to highlight some of the questions that Ellen had, that Pete and I had talked about. So, and I'll point out that this informational packet right here is what goes out to the booth operators in the park. And we outline in here what those, I can't remember exactly where it is.
There's several places
Yeah.
where they talk about the
Yeah.
tree protection.
Like,
Several places in this guide that the vendors get, where we talk about the importance of the trees to the park. And how we want to avoid the root compaction that had caused some of the trees some stress. Our horticulturist knows this much better than I do, but he's the one that noticed it and brought it to our attention. And we wanted to make sure that we can preserve those trees along that main walk. So the Greentree Committee food, game and info people are taking that pretty seriously, and they're trying to make sure that we're not driving big heavy vehicles and trailers over those root beds, especially on the south side of the walk. So that is included in this packet.
And I met with them on site and we walked it and looked at ways we can protect it and went through the whole process of how we can best manage. We know we can't completely eliminate it, but how we can reduce it and manage it best we can. So at least we're looking at it, thinking about it, and trying to reduce that impact on our trees.
Well, I appreciate the committee putting that into, I mean, I know everybody who's got a booth doesn't come through it, but some people will notice it, you know, and it's important to start getting more and more people aware of it, because it is the Greentree Festival. So we should honor that in our park where it is. So anyway, I appreciate the committee doing that.
And if you're at Greentree this year, just kind of keep that in mind. I think I'd like to have a debrief. I think our next meeting is roughly a week after Greentree. We can kind of talk and see how the new procedures went, if we have any recommendations for next year. So just want to be thinking about that throughout the park.
Can you put a partitions around them a little bit just to keep people?
Not easily,
Too hard.
the way things are set up. On the north side of the walk, it's a little bit more forgiving because they don't have to drive all through there, set everything up. They just basically back up to where their booth is in the offload. Where we're getting the issues with, which I noticed in the last few years, was we're having bigger and heavier things coming into that area. Longer trailers, more equipment. When they started providing ice, then the ice truck came with a delivery giant truck driving all through there. So we're just trying to limit that as much as we can. Which they did somewhat by moving things and adjusting booths.
Thanks. Do you have any board member comments?
One. Greentree passes, still getting those. For all of you people, you can get a pass where you can park on the right in close, so.
Yeah, I'll have those available. I'll put them in envelopes again. And I'll put them at the front desk for people.
Or you can take the shuttle from Merrimack.
Which does move fairly quickly.
I used to just park at my mom's house and walk from her house.
Park Foundation update.
Good evening, everyone. Well, I'm happy to report that the Kirkwood Parks Foundation's moving right along. We've been busy behind the scenes getting all of our pieces in place, and I'm really pleased with the progress that we're making. We're getting our final items ordered for Greentree, getting all that wrapped up. We've completed and approved our budget, which gives us a good roadmap to carry on. We're putting the finishing touches on our fundraising plans and taking a close look at the functions and events that we want to pursue. And we are, our goal is to be thoughtful and with about how we raise money and then how we use the money as well, so that they go towards projects that truly benefit the parks and the people of Kirkwood. A few housekeeping items we still need to deal with, but our foundation is gaining momentum. We plan on kicking off at Greentree Festival with the 50-50 and all that. Hopefully that will raise some good money for us. We have a great group of people and we're really excited about what we can accomplish together. So we're moving forward, one project, one fundraiser at a time, and I'm looking to see what we can accomplish together. Thank you.
Everybody, with that, we can adjourn.